Hey everybody, welcome back. These are some bosszillas that must be stopped. Murphy is outside. If he starts barking, we're gonna have to bring him in here. Confession booth, your terrible bosses.
Tell me about a time where your boss was an utter dickhead.
I'll go next. Okay, this is the reason why I quit my job. The whole department was full of women, and at that period of time, I accidentally found out a tumor in my body. I went to the doctor, got it checked, and honestly, it wasn't a good time in my life. I cried almost every day. I was like, am I gonna die? Da da da. But anyway, I have scheduled a doctor appointment, and we have set up a surgery date. Okay. So I told my supervisor about it when I just found out about the tumor, and my supervisor was so supportive. She told me that, yeah, you should get it removed as soon as possible, da da da. And I'm like, thank you so much. So my supervisor told me to tell my big boss, which is the HOD, about what I'm going through, and in a way ask for leave permission kind of thing. So I'm like, okay, sure. I mean, it's an environment full of women, so women supporting women, no.
Right.
When I told the big boss of what happened to me, you know what was her first reaction? Puti, yeah, now the next question is, can you postpone it, the surgery? Yes, There was no word of like, how are you? Are you okay? No, like, what the And you know what she continued on to say after that? Oh, let me just share with you lah. Actually, right, I also removed something in my body. Yeah, it was quite a big surgery, you know. Yeah, I removed the uterus. So yeah, but of course I waited for a time where it's not a busy time lah, you know. So I went for the surgery when it wasn't busy. I make sure that I finish all my work already. Even the day before I went for my surgery, I still went to work, you know. So what should I say? Congratulations, you won. You had worse condition than me, so yay! Congrats! Huh? Is it a competition to you? And you know what's the next thing she said? Just to share. But actually, I had this colleague, right? Last time, she always went to surgery once or twice a year. You know why? Because long MC, right? Long holiday, right? Until she almost died, you know, in the ER because got complication. So after that, she never requested for any surgery anymore. Yeah, very sad, huh? Poor thing. How was I supposed to respond to that? Are you? Oh my gosh, cute.
You know how you respond to that? Two simple words. I quit. I love how some employers literally think that you working for them is more important than your livelihood, than your life. God forbid you take a couple of weeks off so that you can have a surgery that saves your life. You know why she responded that way? Because she was a little bit inconvenienced by the fact that you would have had to have taken a little time off. You know, it's
an inconvenient time for me, for you to have surgery. Would you mind waiting? Would you mind?
I mean, I don't necessarily mind, but like, I might die.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. You can die. We'll deal with it then.
Listen, I'm telling you, if I die because I waited to have surgery because you wouldn't let me have the time off, you're gonna have a lot more to deal with. You're gonna have to find someone to replace me. But then again, they kind of think that most employees are replaceable anyway, so. And the worst boss ever award goes to. I think we've all had our fair share of crazy coworkers and horrible bosses. After a bit of reflection, I think I've officially awarded the worst boss I've ever had title, and this is his story. Scene. Discount clothing store, 12 years ago, 4th of July. It was a beautiful New England day. Everyone's at the beach and not shopping for clothes. Working today are my boss, we'll call him Ron, a 25-year-old man who looks about 45, my hot co-worker, HC, who at one point I had a serious crush on, and me, 18 years old, female. Ron had issues with females. He would make us do all the work in the store while he and the male employees stood around and watched. This is important. Day is moving along and it's time for me to go on break. I'm suddenly not very hungry, so I head to the food court, grab a drink, and sit down. I realize I don't feel so great. Can't put my finger on it, but something is off. I try to shake it off, finish my break, and return to work. As I'm folding clothes, I start to feel worse. I go between sweating profusely and freezing. Crap. I think I've got a fever. Me, hey Ron, I don't feel so good. I think I've got a fever. Do you mind if I head home? Ron. No one gets a fever in July. You can't leave. You have 3 hours left in your shift. Me. Yeah, but you and HC can handle the store. It's dead today. I've already cleaned the women's department. Ron.
Then head to men's.
Now, I'm fairly young and was never really one to question authority, so I go do what I'm told. Once I finish cleaning, I'm completely out of energy, feeling like I'm gonna pass out. I sit on the floor behind the registers. It's about 30 minutes to close, and Ron comes up to me. Ron, I'd really like to go home now. I feel awful. Ron, I need you to vacuum the store. Me, what? We just vacuumed yesterday. It doesn't even need it. Ron.
Get up and vacuum.
Oh, lordy. Like, some of these bosses, it's like, aren't you afraid of lawsuits? Aren't y'all afraid to get sued? Cause I would be. I'd be terrified. Now, we vacuumed this store maybe once or twice a week. Daily vacuuming was never enforced. But I got up, tears in my eyes, and vacuumed as fast as I could. You shouldn't have. You should have got up, tears in your eyes, and walked the fuck out, babe. He let me go after that, 5 minutes before we closed. Ugh. I started crying as soon as I got home and collapsed into a chair. My mother took my temperature. Sure enough, high fever of 104 degrees. Turns out I had mono. Oh, that's very contagious. That's really contagious. I know firsthand that's really contagious. Yeah, it's not fun. I had mono during COVID and I went into the hospital and I told the people working there, the nurses, that I had mono, and COVID ward full of sick people. And the minute I said I have mono, I'm really, really sick, they were like, oh no, oh, that's awful. As if to say that it was like worse than COVID. Missed a month of work and dropped 20 pounds. I was so sick from it. Ah, yes, those knives when you swallow, don't miss it. Oh, and Ron, he may not have faced any consequences for how he treated me on this particular day, but he did get fined for sexually harassing another female employee. Wrote her love letters and secretly filmed her. Creepy guy. So he didn't get mono? Oh, that would have made me happy. I know that's really bad, but it probably would have. I wonder if things have changed since the age of the COVID. Like, are we taking illnesses of employees a little bit more seriously? Because I remember when I was working during COVID, my boss would have rathered us all come in and get everybody sick than for us to work from home and do our jobs from home. Just so he could keep tabs on us, just to make sure that we were working. Keep us under the thumb. He used to make us log our bathroom breaks. Like, we had to write down every task that we did, and we had to write down our bathroom breaks. So I would just literally write, took a big shit, had explosive diarrhea, was bleeding from my uterus. 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. But strangely enough, if you were a smoker and you went outside and smoked, that was totally okay. Kelly knows what I'm talking about. Right, Kelly? That's how Kelly and I met. And now she works for me. Hooray! I should say we work together. Kelly also edited the pilot, FYI.
Sometimes I almost feel like I have PTSD from how toxic some of my previous bosses were. And it's especially obvious to me how toxic they were when I compare them to the boss that I have now. She is everything a leader should be. She is amazing. And one of the things I thought about today, a memory that came back into my mind, is at one of my previous jobs with a super duper toxic boss, we were having a conversation about loyalty. It was when I very first started this job, and he said that, one of his requirements is loyalty, and I was like, oh, I'm loyal to a fault, which, side note, I am loyal to a fault. I always overstay in relationships, friendships, jobs, etc. Even when they're wearing me down or I see red flags, I stay because I just stay. It always take way too long to leave. So we were talking about loyalty. I said I'm loyal to a fault, and he was like, "That's great. Now let's talk about what loyalty means to me." And I was like, "Okay."
Where's this going?
And he straight up told me that part of what loyalty meant to him is that if he and I were to have an argument or some sort of issue, that I would not talk about it with anyone outside of the team, or he and I, essentially. He said that this was because my husband, for instance, if I went home and told my husband that my husband wouldn't forgive him, but I would. And I literally was like, so you don't want me to talk to my husband? I was like, I'm sorry, I kind of have to disagree with you. I can be loyal and still confide in my husband because he is obviously who I confide in about everything. And he was adamant that if there were issues, that it was not to leave his office. This is when I very first started working there. Huge red flag. Like, I should have known then that obviously he's aware that he is a problem and wants you to have undying loyalty and secrecy, not to expose him for the toxic butthole that he is, right from the get-go. Anyway, that's my toxic boss story. I have plenty more examples.
Did you sign an NDA? Because if you didn't, I'm talking all the If that was me, I'd be screaming from the rooftops. Like, are you kidding me right now? You know why he said that? Because he probably got in trouble with a different employee. And that employee went and to their, confidant about him. And then that got him in trouble. Because when people hurt the ones we love, they might forgive you, but I won't. What an odd thing to say. I'm sorry, are you like bound for life to this boss? It really is frustrating because bosses can make or break a workplace. They really, really can. And sometimes some of the worst people are in management. Like, how the hell did you get a job as a manager here? How are you a leader in any way, shape, or form? But you know what those people teach us? They teach us how not to be leaders. #petty. Toxic work story. The toxic work story. I'm feeling feisty today. It's because I'm bleeding from my uterus.
And I'm back with another toxic work story.
A toxic
And this is a
work
story about what led me to quit my job. So, it was my 1-year work anniversary. And typically my boss was a person who commemorated things like this and wrote them down on the calendar. And I guess this time he forgot, which I don't really care. But what I do care about is getting snapped at on my work anniversary. Or at all, for that matter. We were talking and brainstorming strategies to recruit new independent contractors. And my boss said something that it's not like I didn't agree with it, I just didn't think it was as effective. And I kind of said with a flat affect, yeah, but that's not working right now, or something like that. And he immediately was like, I don't care. Just do it. Blah, 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 blah. Just make it happen. He said something like that, to that effect. Just a horrible vibe. And I immediately just shut down. I was quiet the rest of the day. I only answered when spoken to and kept it pretty short. And of course, he was walking around the rest of the day as if he didn't do that, and as if he didn't snap at me completely unwarranted. And he even tried to do the nice boss thing and say, oh, hey girls, it's just me and my friend working there. Operating 2 divisions, by the way, for 2 different counties. Oh, hey girls, can I get anyone anything for lunch? I said no thanks, and just kept working, really just wanting to go home. I got home, and I was so pissed off because it's one, I took on like more work. Essentially, he piled on more tasks, an entire other person's job on me when he let another person go at our other division. And I took on all of the tasks for that location without compensation, without a role change, like without even like a different title. But more importantly, without compensation. I need money. Sorry. And I got on the phone with a few friends and they were like, oh, no. Like, he's giving you another person's job and he's treating you like this and he's not giving you like an increase in compensation like that. Like, no. This is stupid. Like, you should talk to him.
Sorry, Murphy is yelling right now at probably nothing. I feel like all bosses do this. Do they just like slap new requirements onto your job and then expect you to do more work that wasn't as part of your job description? Honestly, I think they do it on purpose. It's like they want us to like beg for their love. Doesn't work for me. That kind of thing doesn't work for me. That shuts me up too for the rest of the day. And frankly, if I get snapped at, when I used to get snapped at for like petty, stupid things, like going to the bathroom or having a conversation, I would just shut up for the rest of the day and I wouldn't be as productive. I wouldn't. I would just sit there and stew and not focus because I was so pissed off. I don't think it's effective to do that. I'm secretly plotting your death. Thinking about all of the ways that I could plot your death or leave very dramatically, the petty revenge that I will take on you. I'm not thinking about work when you do that. I'm thinking about ways to get revenge. You don't want that. Called my boss at 3:30 a.m. and woke him up. Was this a petty revenge? I hope so. When I was in college, I was the night manager at a fast food place near campus that stayed open until 3 a.m. After we closed, we had a half hour to clean the store and leave. My boss said that if we could not get the store cleaned in that half hour, I could do one of two things. I could have everyone clock out and finish cleaning the store, or I could call him and explain why we couldn't get the store clean in a half hour, and maybe, just maybe, he would let us all stay clocked in to finish. The minute he told me this, I thought to myself, this is BS. One night we got a rush at 2:50 a.m. Apparently there had been a frat party and at least 50 people poured into the lobby to order tacos. It was just me and one other person on duty because that weeknight was usually very slow. We managed to clear everyone out by 3:30 a.m. We did $300 worth of 39-cent tacos in that 40 minutes. Damn, that's a lot of tacos, babe. They must have been hungry. Frat boys are usually hungry. Can confirm. After everyone was gone, I looked around and realized that we were past our deadline for clocking out. Now I'm not going to even ask him to clock out and work for free. It's not in my nature. So I called my boss. Yep, I woke him up. After he screamed at me for not calling him when the rush started so he could come and help, he lived 30 minutes away, he yelled at me some more. Right, okay, sure. Yeah, right, I'm gonna call you when the store is full of customers and there's me and one other person working. That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. There was no like pat on the back for the fact that you just sold $300 worth of tacos. I simply asked him if he wanted us to stay clocked in and clean the store or if he wanted us to clock out and go home. He chose the former. Yeah, I love that he didn't thank you for staying later so that he got more customers. He yelled at you instead. Don't make that rule if you're not gonna abide by it. Clearly, OP should have used his time machine or psychic abilities to see if there were going to be any 2:50 a.m. rushes that night so he could give his boss a heads up. Honestly, it's all your fault. It's all your fault. But remember, babe, you're disposable.
Subscribe!